So I have a question for you guys. We're about to see a palette, and I'm wondering if you know what this palette is called. This video is going to be for beginners, mostly new players, things that I wish I would have known. This is actually a God palette. We're going to loop this into a couple of other types of palettes. There's going to be rocks, objects, low walls, God palettes. We're going to cover shack in this as well as like our, I guess, object tile. We're going to just call it an object. Some of these are going to be safe, some of these are not going to be safe. Some of these will have palettes, some of these, well, they're all going to have palettes. Shack is going to be our exception to no windows, as well as cow tree. We're going to look at some unique kind of structures, I guess, in this kind of like catch-all category. You can see there's like palette is going to be where the space is, so we're going to be looking here, we're going to be looking here. It's just one object on one side, object on the other. That's kind of the idea, right? So right now we're in, I think, the Macmillan realm. This is Pinhead. You can see we've got boxes and crates and whatever else on one side. So normally, not normally, but sometimes, I'd say normally, but there is always some variation. There's going to be short side, there's going to be long side of some of these structures that we're going to be looking at, some of these palettes. Failed palette save, let's go. But anyway, so we're going to be looking at a couple different ones. Some short walls, we just had a short wall there. This is a unique short wall on Yamaoka Estate. Alright, this is another object type thing. I don't even know what those are. Are those like tracks to something? Like tire tracks? I don't know. They kind of look like tank tires or something. I don't know. This is a rock. Once again, rock on either side. So, yeah, some of these are safe. This rock's decently good because it's pretty long. So, like, some of these are really, really good palettes. Some of these are not so good palettes. We're about to get into a double palette setup with tree on one side, tree on the other. These are not that safe on their own. As a double palette setup, it can work. Thing is, these, you really have to mind game. So, like, I faked a vault there. He might... Oh. Yeah, see, he mind gamed around the tree again. But, you know, there's pretty good visibility here, so he's just breaking. Then we've got another object type palette, I guess, if you want to call it that. This is going to be the table palette, we'll just call it that, on Nostromo. This is our unique exception to some of the things that we were talking about with the text. This is cow tree. We've got a vault, and we have a palette. Oh, and this is an example of shack. This is another unique structure, palette and a window. This is also going to be shack, where this is also an example of a mind game. I've got my stalk. He wasn't paying attention, so I didn't proceed to chase him all the way. He just, I guess, kind of assumed I would. I wasn't paying attention. So I cut him off, and he throws the palette, and he gets trapped. And he's going into basement. Also, basement can spawn in shack, but it can also spawn in what is called the main building. We did see an example of a main building earlier in one of the Macmillan ones. You know, the one that I said, like, it looks like it has, Oh, and there's our plague. There's our plague clip from the beginning. So that is a God palette. You have to break it. The one in shack is also typically a God palette. Now we're going to be talking about Z and U's. These do not get run very frequently. These are typically short, dangerous. These are one window, no palettes, that you'll see examples. Not running this, but you can see that I'm sneaking around it. This is a custom game where we're taking a look. And we'll see two examples of me actually coming into contact with Z's and U's, just a little bit. This is a long Z. You can find a similar type wall in like a Toba Landing, I believe it is. But it's like connected to an actual tile. It's just got that on the short wall in between the two lawns. So we're going to get a good look at a Z palette here. She wasn't running it. She was running in a nearby jungle gym, I believe. But now we've got Pig. The Nick Cage there just jumped into a U wall, and now he's running to a Z. So this is a bot. Normally people would not run to these unless it was like their last chance, because they're very short. Like, I could hit him at any time here if I wanted. The reason I'm not is I'm trying to get haste from Play With Your Food. But I keep accidentally doing stuff with it. Pallet gems, you heard me mention one of those. Pallet and a window. Once again, you want to watch for mind games, but these are typically a little bit safer than some of the other tiles we've been discussing so far. So we got window to the right, pallet to the left. This is not, some of these things can change with RNG, we're just discussing some basics. So in this case we've got a window there, pallet all the way over there. This is also a jungle gym. You can see it's kind of slightly different in structure. So some of the maps will have their own, like, unique, I guess, type of tile setups that are kind of like what we're talking about, but they have different spawn logic, I guess you could say. T&Ls. These are two windows. These are more dangerous than what we just talked about with pallet gems. Two windows only, no pallets. So this guy ran past a T&L. So that's the T of the T&L. We'll look at another clip that'll show you the L. And there's the L of the T&L. We'll get a good look at both here real quick because she's about to vault that and I'm about to catch her. So, there's the L. These are especially dangerous if somebody has, like, bamboozle, because once again, you'll get a blocked window and it won't work for you. 4 lanes, pallet and a window. You want to be careful about mind games, especially on some of these, like, shorter wall sections, because we've got 2 openings down the middle, so we've got a window on that side. Wall opening 1, wall opening 2. And there's the pallet. So she's going to run through the pallet. She's exposed, so she's going to throw that. She doesn't want to get hit. She jumps, and we hit in 1 hit down. That's what the exposed does. That's what the marked does. Exposed is a very similar effect, but Ghostface, his exposed base kit is called Mark. That's what that red circle was. This is also 4 lane. It's a little bit more spaced out, I think. This is on Ormond Resort. Now we're going to talk about gens. There's 3 gens, middle gens, far gens. So the idea behind gen, the idea behind gens is you need to pay attention to where they're spawning. This is an example of what could be a 3 gen, just because they're fairly close in proximity, I'd say. I think definitely a faster killer, with more map mobility, would 100% be able to hold this as a 3 gen. So, like, Ghoul, Nurse, these are the types of killers you really wouldn't want holding on to these. But the idea is you really want to get at least one of these gens knocked out. You want to spread map pressure. So you don't want to leave 3 gens up. If you're wondering, how do I know what is a 3 gen and how do I know what isn't? If they're in proximity to each other, that's enough. If you don't know, you can't find them. You're like, well, you can put on Deja Vu. Deja Vu is a perk that'll help with essentially gens. So the one thing that I would also point out is when it comes to middle gens, there are certain gens that we would consider middle of the map. This is a middle of the map gen. But some middle gens are very important to do. This one's actually on the upper story, so it's not as super important. I would also argue that if we're taking, like, middle, like if you want to take a cross to your map, imagine your map is a cross on it. So we'll just back up, back up, back up. So if we draw a cross that way, so we've got one here. This one's pretty far away, but it's kind of in that cross line. This one is directly in that cross, pretty close to this other gen. This is a decent gen to do. So you want to do either a middle, or you want to do a middle in the cross. So a middle in the center of the map. That would be on something like RPD, where the main staircases are. I would consider those middle of the map gens. as for our cross gens, you could consider that to be like if on RPD it spawns to the right in that hallway kind of area or in the adjacent room. So, and I say right, like if you're coming out from like the exit gate at like the entrance to the building, and you turn right, like that room. So that would be an example of like a middle-ish gen that I would consider to be, you probably want to think about trying to get that done if you can. For RPD specifically, I would say that you definitely want to get staircase gen done as quickly as you can, because you want to split gen pressure. So if we're talking about far gens and concern with middle of the map, if we consider this to be the middle of the map, because the main building here, this is main building, this is pretty middle of the map. This is probably a far gen. This is not a super bad gen to have late game, because it's a pretty decent traveling distance. So let's see you have that gen remaining, and let's see if we can see... I'm going to back up a little bit more. Okay, so this area is probably closer to Shack. This might be in Shack. This might be just slightly outside of it. This gen and the gen I just showed you are essentially across the map from each other. So if you have those two left in late game, it's going to be harder for somebody to patrol them. Same idea if you're playing Survivor or a Killer. If there are gens that you want to get done first as Survivor, those are preferably gens you don't want done as a Killer. Now there might be people who would have better ways of explaining the idea of which gens you want to do, which gens you don't. There are gens that can be very, very unsafe because they're not in tiles, that kind of thing. They don't have good tiles nearby. But that is a little bit outside the scope of what I'm doing today, because this is just kind of like a short overview of these are the types of tiles. This is the idea behind like gen pressure, and like you want to start thinking about which gens are the most important to your team. Those are kind of some of the things that I had to pick up and learn. There are some really, really good people out there that actually like watch videos for more in-depth covers. If you want to see people run the U's and C's, I would actually suggest you go look up Slate's videos. I don't know if I already said this or not, but he's got some very funny clips. If you're looking up looping tips, how to loop tiles, especially if you're looking at like, how do I loop a pallet gen? What are the different like RNG stuff for it? Go look up for Taterhead. He does really, really good no-perk Survivor looping guides. And some of what I've just kind of explained might tell you, like, if you can identify certain types of tiles, you may or may not know if there's going to be a pallet at one. So, like, this is a unique wall here, I guess, in some ways, because this actually one is it kind of looks like it's maybe a T&L, but then it's got this, like, special little side area. So it's not actually, it's one pallet, and then there's one pallet and then one window.